Vinegar is one of the simplest foods we know. It sits quietly on kitchen shelves, used without much thought, often overlooked and underestimated. And yet, in the Islamic tradition, this humble liquid holds a place of honor. The Prophet Muhammad once said, "What an excellent condiment vinegar is." This short statement, recorded in authentic narrations, has inspired centuries of reflection. Why would the messenger of God praise something so basic, so common, so modest? In Islam, simplicity is never random. Every detail of the prophetic lifestyle, every bite, every choice, every habit, carries a deeper spiritual lesson. Even the foods he preferred can become mirrors showing us who we are, what we value, and how we can grow. Vinegar, with its sharp taste and humble nature, becomes more than a condiment. It becomes a symbol, a reminder, a spiritual tool hidden in plain sight. Many Muslims know vinegar from their kitchens, but fewer have explored its presence in the Sunnah or its symbolic meaning across different Islamic teachings. Today, we're going beyond its culinary uses. We're diving into 3 profound spiritual lessons that vinegar can teach us. Lessons rooted in humility, purification, patience, and transformation. Stay with me until the end to discover how a simple drop of vinegar can carry a spiritual message for your everyday life. Comment, ready to learn. If you're discovering this topic for the first time, before we continue, tell me in the comments, have you ever seen vinegar mentioned in Islamic teachings? Before we begin, please like the video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Share this video with your loved ones, because this knowledge can literally change a life. Humility is one of the greatest virtues in Islam, and it appears in forms we sometimes overlook. Vinegar, sharp, modest, inexpensive, was praised by the Prophet Muhammad not because of luxury, but because of simplicity. At a time when elaborate meals existed, the Prophet deliberately chose foods that reminded his followers of modesty, inner focus, and gratitude. His table often carried bread, water, dates, olives, and occasionally vinegar. And with sincerity, he would say, "What an excellent condiment vinegar is." This wasn't simply a culinary choice, it was a spiritual statement. The Prophet ﷺ taught that the essence of worship is humility, and the essence of humility is remembering that blessings don't need to be extravagant. In the Quran, God praises those who walk with modesty, the servants of the Most Merciful who walk upon the earth humbly. Surah Al-Furqan 25:63. These are people whose hearts remain soft, whose gratitude grows even when the blessing is small. Today, in a world overflowing with consumption, exotic foods, and endless choices, vinegar becomes a quiet reminder. Spiritual richness is not measured by material abundance. Sometimes, the simplest items carry the deepest lessons. A contemporary story illustrating humility. A Syrian refugee family in northern Jordan has been living in a small, modest apartment since 2019. Their resources are limited, and most days they eat simple meals, often just bread, tomatoes, olive oil, and vinegar. One evening during Ramadan, the father brought home a small bottle of vinegar donated by a local charity. They sat together to break their fast with bread dipped in vinegar. The mother smiled softly and said, "The Prophet praised this food. Even if we have little, we have enough." The children, who sometimes wished for more elaborate meals, watched their parents eat with gratitude and serenity. That night, as they prayed Taraweeh in their small living room, the father whispered to his son, "Being thankful for little opens the doors to much." The boy later shared with a volunteer, "I didn't know something as simple as vinegar was part of the Sunnah." Now I feel like even our meals connect us to the Prophet. This family's story mirrors countless others across the world. People who find contentment in simplicity, whose faith shines brightest in moments of scarcity. Their humble meal transforms into a spiritual experience, reminding them that closeness to God doesn't require luxury, it requires sincerity. Take a moment to reflect. When was the last time you were grateful for something simple? Pause the video and write, "Simplicity is worship," if this resonates with you. Share a moment when a simple meal taught you humility. Vinegar has a sharp, penetrating taste. It cuts through heaviness, cleanses, and transforms the ingredients it touches. In Islamic spiritual symbolism, the sharpness becomes a powerful metaphor for purification of the soul, the process known as tazkiyah. Just as vinegar breaks down and cleanses impurities in food, the spiritual heart also needs something to cut through ego, pride, and emotional heaviness. In the Quran, God reminds us, He has succeeded who purifies it, and He has failed who corrupts it. Surah Ash-Shams 91, column 9-10. This purification is not always easy. Sometimes it stings. Sometimes it forces us to face uncomfortable truths about ourselves. But, like vinegar, the sting brings clarity. Many scholars throughout history used natural metaphors when teaching spiritual lessons. Water for purity, dates for resilience, honey for healing, vinegar, with its bold and undeniable sharpness, reflects those moments of inner honesty that cleanse the heart. When we are confronted with our shortcomings, anger, arrogance, impatience, envy, those moments feel sharp, but they lead to transformation. A contemporary story illustrating purification. A young man named Idris, living in London, struggled with anger for years. He would snap quickly at family members, colleagues, even strangers. His relationships were deteriorating, and despite being successful at work, he felt spiritually empty. One evening, after a heated argument, his grandmother sat him down and handed him a small dish with bread and vinegar. She asked him to taste it. "It's sharp," he said, wincing. She smiled gently. Purification feels like that. It stings before it heals. That night, Idris reflected deeply. He realized his anger wasn't strength. It was a wound he never addressed. He began attending gatherings focused on Islamic spirituality, waking up early for Fajr, and practicing mindfulness during wudu. Each splash of water reminded him of cleansing, not just his skin, but his heart. A mentor once told him, "Your anger is vinegar. If you let it, it can sharpen you, not destroy you." Over months, Idris became calmer, more compassionate, more self-aware. His relationships healed, and he even began guiding younger students through emotional and spiritual challenges. Idris's journey reflects something universal. Sometimes the things that sting the most are the things that teach us the most. Just like vinegar, moments of discomfort can become catalysts for deep inner transformation. If you've ever felt your ego block your growth, type "Purify my heart" in the comments. Stay with me. What comes next may change the way you look at everyday foods. What do you think? Can physical sensations like taste help spiritual reflection? Vinegar isn't created instantly. It takes time, change, and a slow internal process of fermentation. What begins as sweet fruit transforms gradually into a sharp, valuable substance with a long shelf life. In many cultures, vinegar symbolizes preservation, patience, and endurance. In Islamic reflection, This transformation becomes a spiritual metaphor. What feels like loss or sourness today may be part of a greater refinement tomorrow. This message is deeply aligned with the Quranic stories that emphasize long-term struggle and eventual elevation. Think of Prophet Yusuf, Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a well, sold into slavery, and imprisoned. His life appeared to darken step by step, yet each step was quietly transforming him, strengthening his character, purifying his heart, preparing him to one day rise as a leader in Egypt. Like the slow process that turns fruit into vinegar, Yusuf's journey teaches us that patience is not passive, it is transformational. Or consider Prophet Noah, who preached for 950 years. Imagine nearly a millennium of effort, rejection, resilience, and unwavering faith. His story is the ultimate symbol of spiritual endurance. While people saw delay, God saw preparation. Vinegar, too, is never rushed. Time itself becomes a teacher. A contemporary story illustrating patience and transformation. In Indonesia, a young woman named Zara dreamed of opening a small business selling natural skincare products. She lived in a coastal village where jobs were limited, and her family relied on her father's fishing income. Zara spent years experimenting with homemade recipes, soaps, oils, herbal blends, often failing, sometimes improving, but always learning. She once visited a local vinegar producer who explained how fruit must first soften, then ferment, then settle before becoming the vinegar people cherish. He told her, "Good things take time. Even what spoils can become useful." That sentence stayed with her. Every time a business idea failed, every time she lost money or motivation, she remembered the vinegar barrel she had seen slowly transforming day after day. She realized she was going through her own kind of fermentation, being softened, refined, strengthened. After years of perseverance, Zara finally launched a successful online shop specializing in natural, affordable products. Customers began appreciating the simplicity and sincerity behind her brand. When asked what inspired her patience, she would say, "I learned from vinegar." Transformation takes time. Yusuf's story reminded me that God never delays without purpose. Zara's journey mirrors the spiritual lesson vinegar teaches. Life's sour phases often precede deep transformation. If you're in a season of waiting, type, "My transformation is coming." Share this video with someone who needs patience right now. Which Quranic story inspires your patience the most? When we place all three spiritual lessons side by side, a remarkable pattern appears. A simple, everyday food, vinegar, becomes a multi-layered mirror reflecting the internal journey of every believer. First, vinegar teaches humility. Its simplicity reminds us that blessings don't need to be extravagant to be meaningful. The Prophet embraced modest meals, not because he lacked options, but because he valued the spiritual clarity that comes from appreciating the basics. In a world obsessed with luxury, vinegar whispers, "Gratitude begins with the small things." Second, vinegar symbolizes inner purification. Its sharpness reflects the sting of self-awareness. The moment we confront our ego, acknowledge our flaws, and begin the work of cleansing the heart. Spiritual growth often comes through discomfort. Just like vinegar cuts through heaviness, honest self-reflection cuts through emotional and spiritual burdens. Third, vinegar represents patience and transformation. Its creation is a slow, deliberate process. What begins sweet becomes sharp, useful, and enduring through time. This mirrors the experiences of Yusuf, Nuh, and countless believers who discovered that the hardest phases of life often prepare them for their greatest chapters. Vinegar tells us, "Give your story time. God is not done with you." When combined, these lessons form a powerful spiritual roadmap. Humble your heart, purify your intentions. Be patient as you transform. Every drop of vinegar on a plate can become a reminder of these timeless truths. It turns a simple meal into an act of reflection. It turns the Sunnah into a lived spiritual experience. It turns the ordinary into a doorway to God. Which of the three lessons touched your heart the most? Comment 1, 2, or 3. Save this video so you can come back to these reflections whenever you need them. Tell me, should we explore similar spiritual meanings behind other prophetic foods? If yes, write the name of the food. As we reach the end of this reflection, remember that spirituality isn't always found in grand gestures or extraordinary moments. Sometimes it's hidden in the smallest details of daily life. A sip of water, a date at sunset, or a simple drop of vinegar on a piece of bread. These humble reminders connect us to the legacy of the Prophet ﷺ and to the wisdom that God placed in the ordinary things around us. If today's journey opened your eyes to new meanings, let it be a starting point. Allow your humility to shape your days. Let purification soften your heart, and embrace patience as your companion in every challenge. Just like vinegar, your life is full of potential transformations waiting to unfold. If you found value here, help the message reach others. Like, share and comment. More spiritual insights, please. May your daily life be filled with humility, clarity and transformation, just like the lessons vinegar teaches us. Thank you for watching, learning and reflecting. May these reminders accompany you in your spiritual journey, wherever you are and whatever you face.